Welcome back to our channel, everyone. Today is a truly beautiful day outside, but as I sit here looking at the latest developments in Genoa City, I can't help but feel a deep, heavy storm brewing on the horizon. We have so much intense emotional baggage to unpack today, so let's take a deep breath and just dive right into the heart of the chaos. I honestly can't stop thinking about the absolute nightmare that is currently unfolding out in the Nevada desert. It's genuinely terrifying when you really stop and look at how far things have spiraled out of control in Las Vegas. Nick Newman, a man who has always tried so hard to be the solid, unshakable foundation for his family, is currently facing what might be the absolute darkest, most terrifying moment of his entire life. And it just breaks my heart into a million pieces to see him suffering like this. You know, when Adam and Nick were desperately racing toward that abandoned gas station, you could almost feel the suffocating, heavy tension bleeding through the screen. The blistering heat of the desert, the sheer, blinding panic, the desperate need to save Sharon and Noah. It was all just building up to this catastrophic, unavoidable breaking point. And Nick. Poor, struggling Nick. He was already in such a fragile, dangerous place, fighting this quiet, agonizing internal battle with an addiction that he absolutely refused to admit was destroying him. And then, the unthinkable happens. It's almost physically painful to think about how Matt Clark orchestrated this entire tragedy. Matt is he is the definition of pure evil, isn't he? He deliberately, maliciously planted that tainted batch of fentanyl in the hotel storage room, knowing exactly what Nick would do. Knowing that Nick's physical cravings and addiction would completely overpower his logic and his survival instincts. It's a level of psychological and physical cruelty that just leaves you completely speechless. I keep replaying the scene in my head, Adam and Nick finally arriving at that decaying, rusted, abandoned gas station. I can just picture them kicking open those heavy doors, adrenaline pumping furiously through their veins, ready to be the heroes. Ready to fight to the death to save the people they love. But instead of a triumphant, heroic rescue, we get this devastating, gut-wrenching moment of absolute horror. Nick's body just gives out. The tainted fentanyl hits his system with full force, and he just collapses right there on the dirty, dusty concrete floor. It's so incredibly traumatic for everyone involved in that room. Can you even begin to imagine what must have been going through Sharon's mind in that exact, horrifying moment? She's chained up, completely helpless, exhausted, terrified for her own life and for her son's life. And then the doors burst open, and her savior, the man she has loved for so much of her complex life, just falls to the ground, dying right in front of her eyes. The hysterical screams, the paralyzing panic, the sheer, unadulterated terror of that moment. It's a trauma that is going to haunt Sharon's nightmares for the rest of her life. And Noah. My heart just physically aches for Noah. He has already been through so much turmoil, and to see his father, his ultimate hero and protector, completely broken, pale, and unconscious on the floor of a terrifying trap set by a madman. It's the kind of profound trauma that fundamentally changes a person. Thankfully, miraculously, Sharon and Noah are finally freed from Matt's sadistic chains. The physical trap is broken, but the emotional chains are just wrapping tight around them all. Because Nick is left in a critical, life-threatening condition. He is hovering right there on the fragile, terrifying edge between life and death, fighting a desperate battle inside his own body against a poison that was specifically, cruelly designed to end him. Now, of course, we all know deep down that he is not going to die. I mean, this is Nick Newman we are talking about. He is a survivor, a fighter. He has that stubborn, unyielding Newman resilience running deep through his veins, but surviving the physical overdose is only the very, very beginning of this waking nightmare. When Nick finally opens his eyes, when he finally wakes up in that cold, sterile hospital room, surrounded by the harsh, glaring fluorescent lights and the steady, rhythmic, haunting beeping of the heart monitors, he is going to have to face a reality that is far more terrifying than anything that Clark could ever do to him. He is going to have to face himself, and Adam. Adam, who has been carrying this crushing, suffocating weight of guilt for his own role in this, for telling Nick to take the pill just to get through the rescue. Adam is not going to let Nick hide in the shadows of denial anymore. It's going to be such a powerful, emotionally gut-wrenching confrontation between these two complicated brothers. Adam is going to stand there, looking down at his broken, vulnerable brother, and he is going to force Nick to look in the metaphorical mirror. He is going to force him to admit, out loud, that he is an addict, that he has completely lost control of his life, that he almost orphaned his children and destroyed his entire family because of a dependency on a pill. I honestly don't know if Nick is emotionally strong enough to handle that brutal truth right now. It's going to shatter whatever pride he has left. And hanging over all of this, like a dark, suffocating, inevitable storm cloud, is the impending wrath of Victor Newman. You just know that when Victor fully grasps the reality of this situation, his reaction is going to be incredibly complicated and incredibly harsh. It's going to be this toxic, explosive mixture of deep, paternal fear and absolute, aggressive disappointment. Victor doesn't handle human weakness well, especially not in his namesake, and his classic brand of tough love might be the exact opposite of the delicate support Nick desperately needs to heal. It just feels like this entire family is standing on the jagged edge of a massive cliff, and they are all about to fall into the abyss. But, as heavy and suffocating as things are out in Vegas, the atmosphere back home in Genoa City is equally toxic, just in a completely different, corporate way. We absolutely have to talk about Phyllis Summers. Oh, Phyllis. My mind just races trying to figure out how she survives this. She has backed herself into a corner so incredibly tight that I honestly don't see how she gets out of it this time without losing a piece of her soul. The corporate warfare over Newman Enterprises has reached this absolute, explosive boiling point, and the collateral damage is going to be immense. It's genuinely chilling to think about what Victor Newman is capable of when he feels his legacy, his life's work, has been stolen from him. He doesn't just want his company back, he wants to completely and utterly annihilate Phyllis. He wants to break her spirit, crush her legendary pride, and leave her with absolutely nothing but regrets, and the way he is going about it. Using this highly advanced, terrifying AI program to fabricate flawless, irrefutable evidence of illegal corporate crimes. It's brilliant, yes, but it is also deeply, profoundly terrifying in its implications. And the absolute worst part for Phyllis is the timing. It's like the universe is conspiring against her. Because just as Victor is setting this inescapable, high-tech trap, Christine Romalotti is stepping back into the powerful role of district attorney. I mean, talk about an absolute worst-case scenario. When you look back at the long, bloody history between Christine and Phyllis, the decades of bitter, violent, deeply personal hatred, the endless fights over Danny Romalotti, the infamous hit-and-run that nearly cost Christine her life. There is so much toxic and resolved history there that the air between them practically hums with dangerous electricity. Christine has always seen Phyllis as this chaotic, destructive force of nature. A criminal who always manages to manipulate the system and slip away from justice just when she is about to be caught. So, when Christine gets her hands on this new, supposedly rock-solid investigation into Phyllis's illegal takeover of Newman Enterprises, she is going to pursue it with a relentless, terrifying passion. And the tragic, cruel irony of it all is that Christine genuinely, wholeheartedly believes she is doing the right thing. She has absolutely no idea that the evidence she is looking at is completely fake, fabricated by Victor's ruthless, calculating machine. I can just vividly picture the confrontation between them. It gives me goosebumps. Christine walking into Phyllis's office, armed with her shiny new Dow badge and a thick stack of undeniable, damning evidence, the look of absolute, righteous triumph shining in Christine's eyes. The cold, hard, and forgiving warning she is going to deliver. She is going to look Phyllis dead in the eye, with all the weight of their bitter past behind her, and threaten her with years in a federal prison. She is going to lay the ultimatum out on the table: either Phyllis signs Newman Enterprises back to Victor immediately, or she loses her freedom, her life, and worst of all, her children. And Phyllis, my heart actually races just thinking about the sheer, suffocating panic she must be feeling inside her chest. even though she will stand there, with her chin held high projecting that classic, fiery, and breakable Phyllis defiance. Inside, she has to be absolutely crumbling into dust. She knows that even the brilliant Michael Baldwin can't save her from this perfectly laid trap. She knows that Victor has played a flawless game of chess and has her in checkmate. The walls are literally closing in on her, the air is getting thinner by the second, and the reality of a prison cell is looming right in front of her face. It really, truly makes you wonder, what is she going to do? Will Phyllis actually cave? Will she finally swallow her massive, legendary, stubborn pride and surrender to her greatest enemy just to save her own skin? Or will she dig her designer heels in, blinded by her own massive ego, and risk losing absolutely everything? The thought of Phyllis being violently torn away from Summer and Daniel, locked in a cold steel cell while Victor smugly reclaims his throne. It's a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions, and I am just sitting here on the edge of my seat, holding my breath, waiting to see how she plays her final, desperate hand. But amidst all this suffocating darkness, all this ruthless corporate greed and twisted psychological warfare, there is a tiny, beautiful, fragile glimmer of hope shining over with the Winters family. It's been so incredibly, deeply painful to watch them struggle with the devastating reality of Malcolm's aplastic anemia, the feeling of absolute, paralyzing helplessness. Of watching someone you love so dearly slowly fade away into nothingness while you can do absolutely nothing to stop it. It's a unique, agonizing kind of hell that no family should ever have to endure. I've been thinking so much about Holden Novak lately. It's just heartbreaking to try and imagine the suffocating guilt he must be carrying around in his heart. He finally, after a lifetime of lies, finds his biological father, only to learn that he is dying, and then to undergo the testing and find out that he isn't a genetic match. That his own biology has failed him and he can't save the man who gave him life. That kind of profound emotional burden would crush the strongest of men. He must feel so incredibly useless, standing silently on the sidelines in that sterile hospital, watching his father's life slip away drop by drop. And Lily, sweet, strong, fiercely protective Lily, who has already lost so much in her young life. She has been carrying the weight of the entire world on her slender shoulders, trying to hold her family together while her own heart is breaking. But then, out of nowhere, like a burst of sunlight through a hurricane, a miracle happens. The news comes in that Kane Ashby, her ex-husband, the man with whom she shares such a deeply complicated, painful, yet undeniably beautiful history, is a perfect bone marrow match. I can't even begin to fathom the absolute, staggering tidal wave of relief that must have washed over her entire being in that moment. It's almost poetic, isn't it? That salvation for the Winters family comes from such an unexpected, historically fraught place. Lily gets to be the bearer of this incredible, life-saving, miraculous news. I can just see her, hot tears of pure, unadulterated joy streaming down her face, as she frantically rushes to find Dr. Stephanie Simmons and Holden, the moment she tells them. The moment the heavy, suffocating, dark shroud of impending grief is violently lifted and replaced with genuine, radiant, life-affirming hope. It's the kind of profound emotional payoff that reminds us all exactly why we care so deeply about these characters and their families. To see Stephanie, who has been trying so incredibly hard to maintain this strict, professional, deeply controlling and stoic facade, finally break down and weep in pure relief. And to see the dawn of realization on Holden's face that his father is actually going to survive, that they are going to have the precious time they need to build a real, meaningful relationship. It's just incredibly, deeply moving. It's a beautiful, poignant reminder that even in the darkest, most hopeless times in Genoa City, absolute miracles can and do happen when you least expect them. But, as is always the way in this town, the light never lasts long everywhere, because over at the Abbott Mansion, things are taking a very dark, very disturbing, and highly dangerous turn. The situation with Jack losing everything to Diane has been tragic and infuriating enough, but now we have Patty Williams lurking in the shadows again. Patty is just. She is a deeply broken, deeply dangerous, highly unpredictable woman. Her terrifying delusions, her twisted, lifelong obsession with Jack Abbott. She thrives on emotional chaos, and she absolutely loves to mock the people who are suffering around her. I can just vividly imagine Patty, standing there with that unsettling, manic, wide-eyed smile of hers, confronting Carl Abbott, taunting him, mocking his father's profound pain and humiliation, trying to get under his skin with her twisted little nursery rhymes and psychotic mind games. She probably thought she was dealing with the old Kyle, the sweet, idealistic, easily manipulated boy who could be easily confused and pushed around by a seasoned manipulator. But she is so incredibly wrong, and she is about to find that out the hard way. It is actually genuinely terrifying to see how much Carl has changed recently. The deep trauma of watching his father be systematically destroyed and humiliated by his own mother, Diane, has fundamentally, permanently altered his DNA. He is no longer playing games. He is no longer the forgiving son. When Patty tries to mock him, she doesn't find a scared boy. She finds a ruthless, cold-blooded, fiercely protective corporate shark. The look in Kyle's eyes in that moment, it must have been like staring into a block of solid, unforgiving ice. When Kyle issues that warning, when he steps into her personal space, looks Patty dead in her manic eyes, and threatens to use every single ounce of Abbott power, wealth, and legal influence to lock her away in a dark, silent solitary confinement cell for the rest of her natural life. He means every single, terrifying word of it. He is promising to strip away her freedom, her light, her very sanity if she ever dares to breathe near his father again. It's a level of dark and compromising, almost Victor Newman-esque ruthlessness that we have never really seen from Kyle before, and it sends shivers down my spine. And you can almost feel the exact, precise moment Patty's fragile delusions completely shatter into a million pieces. The moment she realizes that she has pushed way too far, that she is standing in front of a man who will not hesitate for a fraction of a second to completely destroy her existence. The cold, paralyzing fear that must have gripped her erratic heart. It's a chilling, powerful reminder that the Abbott legacy is not just about charm, smiles, and cosmetics. There is a deep, ancient, protective ferocity hidden in their bloodline, and Kyle has just fully unlocked it to protect the only parent he has left. When you take a step back and really look at all of this, the sheer, overwhelming emotional weight of it all is just absolutely staggering. From the dusty, tragic, blood-stained floors of a Vegas gas station, to the cold, calculating, cutthroat boardrooms of Newman Enterprises. From the tear-filled, desperately hopeful halls of the local hospital, to the dark, tense, dangerous shadows of the Abbott estate. Every single person is fighting a desperate, agonizing battle for their lives, their freedom, or their very sanity. It's a beautiful, terrifying, deeply heartbreaking tapestry of human emotion and survival, and I just can't wait. Yet I'm also terrified to see how these incredible characters navigate the impossible, life-altering choices that lie just ahead of them.